Good day everyone, I am Jay-Prelim from BS Criminology 1B, History 11. Here is my reflection from Prelim, from Torrentera and Philippine History Source Book. And the topic that I am going to reflect is an introduction to Philippine history, sources and discourses. And the mode of reflection that I am adapted is the microscope, which is get one word or words, phrase or sentence that struck you or affected you. What are its societal or sectoral implications? Why? And my reflection. Historians seek to understand the present by examining what went before, to come up with a meaningful and organized reconstruction of the past. This sentence had struck my attention as I just came to the conclusion that historians play an extremely important role in understanding what the past may have been. According to what Corfield 2008 stated, all people are living histories, which is why it is important to study history. That is to say that we are a product of what we call the past, and by investigating it, we can come to the conclusion of how things began and how something is being understood. Studying history in this day and age isn't just for constructing events in the past to explain why certain things happened. Rather, it is also a great way to dictate what should we do in the present to prevent history from repeating itself, which is one of the main purposes of studying history in this day and age. In the readings, through a variety of historical sources, such as, for instance, a written memoir or a pioneering president of the Philippines, to which they wrote about their life and how they controlled the whole country, you will learn about Philippine history, from its day as a colony to its current status as an independent nation. The survival of the Philippines will depend on the answer to this question. The lessons that can be learned from the administration styles of previous presidents, as well as the pitfalls to avoid and opportunities to seize throughout their terms, are passed down from the president to the next. The next topic is the history of the Philippine Islands. The mode of reflection that I am adapted is mirror. What is being discussed or read? Is there anything that you can see in yourself? It is present or absent? What do you feel? Why? Concerning the readings prior to the beginning of colonization in the Philippines, the people who lived there had beginnings of ruling their land. They were far less structured in comparison to the generation that is alive today. Yet, their power structure and the implications of justice had been well defined at that point, which is a significant signal of governance. All aspects of their culture, including their attire, rituals, government, laws, marriages, contracts, court system, and socialization, were unique and unusual. However, as we know it was because of Spanish colonization, which brought wide influence, to every Filipino's life. Gradually, the distinct origin of our ancestors' beliefs and traditions was replaced. Even though not all of our ancestors had been greatly influenced by Spanish, quite a few of them had. For example, the spreading of Roman Catholic religion. It is still one of the religions practiced by the majority of people in our country at the present time. I felt grieved yet satisfied. We were both saddened and gratified by the fact that it did modify the ideas of our ancestors, but we were saddened because it changed our beliefs about God as the supreme being who had the capacity to govern everything. Next topic is the manunggol jar, and the mode of reflection that I am adopted is telescope, which is cite existing societal, whether local, national, or international issues, then connect that issue to the topics being read or discussed. How these issues affected you as a student, as a youth, why or why not. The manunggol jar, which is widely regarded as one of the most well-known examples of culturally significant works of art. It is simply a jar used for burial. Rather, there is a history of living things that lies within it. This offers specific evidence regarding our ancestors' belief of life after death and the afterlife in general. Everything that was hand-carved inside of this burial jar had some sort of cultural significance, such as the boat, the two people paddling it, and the postures of their bodies. My realization that we are able to retain and hand down to subsequent generations our very own set of beliefs was precipitated by the discovery of the old manunggol jar, which first appeared a very long time ago, during the primeval age. One of the problems that I am aware of as of today is the PBB problem on the quiz about Philippine history. My concern is that they had been oblivious to the abundance of beliefs, traditions, and history of the Philippines, which they have failed to recognize, proven by each question that was thrown at them that they didn't answer, and it made them look like fools. This is proven by the fact that each question they didn't answer made them look like fools. My point is that we have a long history, but the problem is that some of us don't recognize how important it is. This is because young people in today's society are more interested in social media platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter, all of which were generally influenced by cultures from other countries. Our identity will soon be forgotten, and right now we are more concerned with the way of life of others than with developing what we have already established. As a young person, I was touched by this problem since, according to what Dr. Jose Rizal said, the youth is the future of the nation. But how can we be the future of the nation if we don't even know who we are? Next is the Laguna copper plate, and the mode of reflection that I am adopted is microscope. Get one word or phrases or sentence that struck you or affected you? What are its societal or sectoral implications and why? Lack of information led many scholars to believe that it was isolated from the rest of the region. The inscription found on the Laguna copper plate is an artifact that is believed to be extremely important since it allowed researchers to piece together what life has like in Southeast Asia during the 10th century. Without it, it is hard to judge whether or not surrounding regions and civilizations existed during the time period in question. This brought to mind the concept of fake news, according to which something is considered to be fake news unless it can be debunked by credible proof. Due to lack of information, we were led to believe one-sided stories that had a larger potential of being true, while other stories were discarded because there was no truth or proof to back them. An argumentative remark needs to be backed up with another truth if it is ever going to be taken seriously as being true. This will help us a piece of the puzzle for a mission. Next topic is the duties of the Katipunan of the Sons of the People, or the KKK. The mode of reflection that I am adopted is the mirror. The reading was based on an oath of responsibilities that members of the KKK repeated to the organization in order to serve its members. As a student of criminology, my classmates and I have something called a Article of Faith and something called the CGE 10 Commandments, both of which serve to constantly remind me of the responsibilities that I have as a son, as a student, and as someone who will one day be a law enforcement officer. Every time I said those, I felt blessed, happy, enthusiastic, and contemplated because it motivates me to become more focused in my course. I felt all of these things whenever I recited them, and that this must also serve to bring to mind the challenging path that I had just completed, which was ultimately worthwhile and gratifying to accomplish. Next is from the Philippine History Source Book. The first topic is the pre-16th century Philippines reading materials, and the mode of reflection that I am going to adapt is the microscope. Get one word or words, phrase or sentence that struck you or affected you. What are its societal or sectoral implications and why? It was originally referred to as in Thou Nakauna in the readings of the first people of Sulu, which is the name of a myth that was passed down from generation to generation. The voyage of the first 5 people, both men and women, who happened to flee from conflict and had resided in Sulu, is the focus of this book. We had better start making plans for their future, deciding where they will reside and dividing the land among them. This expression had a significant impact on me because In general, it is connected to poverty as well as an excessive population in the Philippines. Some people have the belief that God told them to travel the earth and multiply. Hence, they tend to have many children. They are unfazed by the innermost duty that lies ahead of them, and if they are unable to accomplish it, they will have to face the challenges that come with it, because they bore the weight and will bear the consequences of what their parents did. The children will be the ones who are affected the most by what happens in that place. Planning for one's own future should be in the forefront of everyone's attention at all times. Everyone should be reminded of the importance of being a responsible parent on a regular basis, because an overpopulated world might produce a variety of difficulties. Without control, there is a reduced chance that it will be accomplished. Next is the 16th to 18th century Philippines. The mode of reflection is mirror. Readings on the subject of Practica del Ministerio discuss the religious structure that existed in the Philippines prior to the arrival of Spanish colonizers. A variety of monstrous beings, such as Nunos or Jenny, Tigbal, Patianak, Bungsol, and Lemanon Lahu Buvan, are referred to by their own names and have their characteristic described. I was paying attention because many of the words that were spoken are common to me. This urban legend has been handed down from one generation to the next, which is why I believe I am familiar with this. My grandmother and grandfather used to tell us stories based on these urban legends very frequently, and the stories never failed to terrify us, especially after they were recounted. The fact that they were able to pass it down to our generation made me happy, and I am happy to say that our generation will likewise carry this story on to the generation that comes after us. Even though I don't honestly believe in such things now, I still want to address the ideas that our ancestors had been, or even though these myths have been ingrained in every Filipino's head ever since the pre-Hispanic era. I believe that this is a masterpiece that needs to be maintained. Next topic is the 19th century Philippines, and the mode of reflection that I am adapted is the telescope. Cite existing or societal, local, national, international issues, then connect that issue to the topics being read or discussed. How these issues affected you as a student or as a youth. Why and why not? This brings to mind concerns regarding the collection of tithes and offerings in Catholic churches, which were brought up in the reading of Marcelo H. del Pilar's Aba Ginoong Barya. That churches, and particularly friars communities, have lots of money thanks to donations and the fact that they do not pay taxes to the government. The author Marcelo H. del Pilar and a few other prominent figures had enough of these issues due to the principle of maintaining a wall of separation between the state and the church, as well as the fact that friars had a poor reputation at the time. Clearly, up until this point, churches have not paid taxes to the government because it was established explicitly and legally that religious organizations are exempt from paying taxes. Since of this, I believe that Catholic schools are also on the rise because they stand to benefit from it. As a result of how this makes me feel as a student and a young person, I have become a Roman Catholic and often participate in religious events. It is disheartening to me that there is still corruption and the abuse of authority, and at their worst, they use religion as an excuse. Even if this is not the case of all friars, I continue to hear reports of friars with questionable reputations committing crimes such as rape, murder, and other forms of physical abuse. Next topic is the 1896 Philippine Revolution, and the topic or the mode of reflection that I am adopted is the mirror. What is being discussed or read? Is there anything that you can see in yourself? It is present or absent? What do you feel? Why? It was all about the Decalogue of the Katipunan in the reading that was done on katungkulang gagawin ng mga ZDB. This document was created by Andres Bonifacio, who is known as the father of the Philippine Revolution. This describes the responsibilities that Katipuneros have, including a steadfast devotion to God, a fervent commitment to their brothers, a yearning for independence and patriotism. The KKK of today is comparable to the Philippine National Police, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and the other government organizations that take an oath to serve the country. They are willing to put their lives in danger under the guiding hand of God and with a strong sense of brotherhood whenever and wherever they are asked to be deployed. In addition, as an aspiring cadet, I am pleading that I will serve and protect my country until the day I die. I am overjoyed because it has always been a goal of mine to serve my country and the people who live in it. That's all. Thank you.